Good morning. I thought I was the last speaker, and I'm the fourth, so nothing like feeling unprepared. And I cannot take credit for that national championship. But I'm happy to be a representative of UGA and Grady College, and as Josh said, I am a professor in advertising and public relations at Grady, so that will be helpful in today's talk. It's funny how things work out. They said you can talk about anything you want, and just days before I spoke with Josh and Nico about presenting here today, I had something occur in one of my creative classes. So I was working with some students in an intro graphics course, and their project was a Photoshop assignment, and it started with some self-portraits. I said, go out and take some photographs of yourself, and then in Photoshop, I just want you to play. I just want you to go in 3 different directions with your self-portraits, and just let the magic of Photoshop kind of take over, and just have fun, play, don't have any expectations. And I could see pretty quickly that some of them were stifled. They didn't really know how to handle a project that didn't have a finish line or didn't have a really defined ask, because how many of your college professors just say, go play, right? And it had probably been a minute since a lot of them have played, because let's be real, from the time they were in kindergarten, we've told them to sit in this chair and then get in this line so that we can go to the lunchroom. And then when you're in middle and high school, you got to take these classes so that you can get into this college and have this major and then have this career. And so everything has felt really formulaic for them up until this point. So when someone tells you to play, I get how that feels stifling. So I didn't really give you a sign, but you got it. Okay. So anyway, I started thinking about this because I take my work home with me, like we all do, and I thought it was really sad, because I feel like I have been blessed with a really broad, experiential, multifaceted, multidimensional, whatever you want to call it, life. And that has at times felt like whiplash, because I'm all over the place. You can go to the next one. But what do I mean by multidimensional? Well, I think we all have hobbies. I think we all have things that we dabble in, and I'll call these minor curiosities, just things we do to unwind. We do them, we like to cook or whatever, and that's good. But again, I would call these minor curiosities. And as I really started thinking about, well, how does curiosity play a role in my life? You can go to the next one. I really dug into this, and it was really interesting and fun, but more difficult than I thought that it would be. And it didn't initially look like this, but eventually I ended up in these 4 buckets. And it is chronological, from left to right, as much as I could make a list chronological, but left to right, top to bottom. This is sort of a snapshot of 53 years on this planet. And I hope that if I were to come back in 5 years or 10 years, this list would look very different. And maybe it would say something like, she learned how to play the cello and she's speaking Italian fluently. But currently, those things are not on the list. Anyhow, this was really interesting to me, because I started to see a lot of crossover between things like, how does wellness play into how I conduct my classes, or how does faith influence how I coach, or all of these things. And so it becomes this really intricate fabric, right? And again, this list does not make me special. This list is an indication of the blessings in my life. So I'll just say that, okay? It's just an acknowledgement of the blessings that have been shared with me. But I want to focus on brain health, because this is something that, and again, these things, when I say kind of a deep dive, these are rabbit holes, these are things that I've really spent not just, again, minor curiosities. These are things that I've spent years of my life learning. And brain health is something that directly correlates to curiosity. So you can go on to the next one. There are some very specific and direct benefits and correlations between curiosity and brain health. So the hippocampus, okay, when you are curious, that is going to activate the hippocampus. That's that control center in your brain that's responsible for behavior and learning and emotions. And this is important that you take care of it and that you really nurture that part of your brain, because as you age going forward, and again, this is something, I'm midlife, so I'm thinking about this, right? The latest statistics on Alzheimer's, 6 million people in the US are fighting Alzheimer's. 2/3 of those are women. Okay? So you can bet that matters to me. And when we think about curiosity and we look at curious people, and we look at the traits of curious people, we see some things. They tend to be more at peace. They're well-rounded. They're good critical thinkers. They're adaptable. They're flexible. They tend to have stronger relationships. And so these are things that you should think about when you start thinking about, well, gosh, am I curious? Do I even have time for curiosity? All right, let's go. I'm never going to nail 10 minutes, but... So back to the students, I feel like I have been fortunate to live this very curious life. And I don't know whether that's because I was naturally curious, so I gravitated towards a career in creative, or because I'm a creative that allows me to live a curious life. But, whatever. I think we could all benefit from kind of stopping and thinking about, all right, well, how does curiosity play a role in my everyday life? I think a lot of times we don't take the time to be curious because we're so used to immediacy, right? We're fed an ad, we've bought it, and then it's going to arrive in 2 days. And so this idea of going down a rabbit hole and kind of broaching the subject that maybe you don't know a lot about, we just don't like that, okay? Let's go on to the next one. I think the other thing is that we equate fear and failure with each other, and goodness knows we don't want to fail at anything, right? That would be the worst. And the way I see failure is just accelerated learning. I think the quicker you screw up, then the faster you're going to be able to adapt. So hey, I love failure, and I tell my students that all the time, like fail all the time. It's accelerated learning, and I think if we could really change our perception of failure, then that's going to free us up to be a little bit more curious, right? To take those chances. We'll keep going. All right, so let's just say you feel like your life, maybe it lacks dimension, or maybe in your adult life, you're not making time, you're not committed to curiosity. How can you work that into what you're doing now and moving forward? The first thing I would say is have fun and enjoy the process, because if you're not interested in it, you're not going to stick with it. And life is short and we're busy, so do something that you really enjoy. So pursue the passions. Maybe they're not your side hustle, maybe they don't provide an income, but if they bring joy to your life, then that's added value. The other thing, pace yourself. Anything that is skills-based, whether it's a new language, anything that's a tangible skill, it is going to take a while to master. So just let that unfold naturally. Again, I know that we feel like we live in this accelerated pace, but slow down and just let these skills develop over time. The last thing is just be aware. It's so easy for us to spend our lives looking at our phones and just getting sucked into all the negativity. And I think if you look at your day, think about all of the things that you might be missing, all the wonder and awe in the world that might be passing you by simply because you're not being aware. And I think opening yourself up to those opportunities is going to naturally invite curiosity into your life. I think that's it. I cannot believe it. 19 seconds. Woo! I'm so proud.